This morning we were talking about your family. Where were you born, Aunt Stella?
Yeah. I was born in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania.
Oh, you weren't born in Europe?
No, I was born in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania.
Now, how did your...
Well, when my mother and father got married, they
Where?
didn't have nothing in Poland.
In Poland.
Yeah. My father came over here to work, to make some money. And he sent for my mother. Of course, my mother had a baby, but it died over there after he left. So she came over here, and then that's where I was born.
I see.
I was born in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, and then when I was about 2 years old, my mother was getting sick, and nobody knew what was wrong with us. They went to some doctor. He said, the air over here is no good for her. She ought to go back to the old country. So she took
that's
me.
How you got back.
Yeah, so she took me. She couldn't read or write. There's another, and she went back. I don't know where she landed, but she got back to our village, to the village where she was born, to the house that she was born in.
The same house?
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah. Well, her mother was, whether she was still living, I don't remember. But I was 2 years old then. Then about a year later, no, not even that, she was pregnant. That's why she was sick.
Oh my goodness.
She had a baby, another little girl. Well, she was born in Europe. Well, then my grandmother died. So there was only my mother, my grandfather, me, and the little girl, the baby. We were living in this, I don't know just exactly how big it is, I don't remember, but it was a bigger house than what we had. And then when the war broke out, 1914, I think the war broke out or something. Well, Germany took over the part of Poland that we were in. And they were stationed in the village, and soldiers were sleeping in different houses. And my poor mother was a widow. My grandfather slept on one side of the room, my mother and I on the other side of the room, and the soldiers were sleeping on the floor. And she said they used to try to crawl into bed with her. She said she had to have a stick with her all the time, that she was beaten with a stick. Otherwise they got out of. So anyway, they were there. They weren't long. They were there only a few months, I guess, or so. And then the Germans start coming, and that's when they start building the homes, especially those that they were building at. They burned homes, and when they were coming, I don't know why we should run out away from the Russians, but we had to go. They chased us out, so we got the wagon, because my mother had a wagon. They had a horse, they had a cow. Chickens they left behind, or did they take with them? I don't remember that. They must have had some chickens with them too. But I now remember the cow and back, and we were going, I don't know if you ever see a picture of, there had some kind of a picture like that. It was wagon after wagon.
Yes.
We were going, running away from the villages. There was a couple of villages, one back of the other. And we're all going away into the woods, into the mountains, because they were dropping bombs all over. And as we were going, there was a river there, and we were going outside this river. And the Germans would be coming over, the Russians, one or the other chasing. They were dropping bombs on the people. So we used to leave the wagon out in the road and scurry like the devil, dig ourselves under the bank. And they were dropping bombs into the water. So then we got into the mountains, and we stayed in the mountains a few weeks. The people, a bunch, all the villages there. Then when they quit, the war wasn't over by no means. But they quit bombing. So then we were, I don't know who told us, but somebody must have let us know to return back to the village. So we all returned to the village. Those that homes weren't built, they went right in there. And the ones that our homes were built were out of luck, with families. Well, my mother didn't have a family there. She had a family sister-in-law, but quite a ways in a different town.
Now,
Back
what town did you go? It was in Poland.
It was in Poland. Well, we were in a village named Pludnia. It was a one-street village. The houses on each side. That was where we lived. On the other side, there was another village,
I see.
but I don't remember the name of that. And when we went to town, we had to go to Łomża. Now, my mother, after the war, after she stayed in that cave there, the little girl died. She got pneumonia, she died. That's what they said anyway. So then they helped to put up a house there. It was a log house and dirt floor. But we lived there. And she wanted a little money once in a while. She used to gather eggs, butter, eggs and butter, and I think milk sometimes. And we used to go to about 10 miles, 10 kilometers or whatever they called them, to a town called Łomża. That was a big town. We used to say, na Żydy. That means we were going, the Jews were all merchants. So they're going to the Jews, because they were all merchants, the
They
Jews
would
in
buy
Łomża.
the things you had to
Yeah,
sell?
yeah.
I see.
They used to buy the things. And then we'd spend the day in town. I had an uncle in, I don't know whether he was, well, it was my father's uncle, whether he was just a priest or whether he was a pastor, I don't know, but we used to go visit him when we'd go to Łomża.
Now, you walked all that way?
Yeah.
I'll be
Well,
there.
the wagon.
Oh, I see.
The wagon, but we walked most of the way, but we had the wagon. You had to have the wagon to put the
The stuff in.
goodies on. And then we'd park the wagon wherever, the horse, and then we'd go visit him, and then we'd go and have lunch. We'd get a piece of kobasi, and we had our own bread, and we'd sit down someplace, I don't know, they must have had a little place where you could sit in the market, because that's what, we used to go to market. That's what it was. I forgot the name, but it's a market. They called it, we're going to the Jews, but that don't sound right in English.
Yeah.
Because they weren't mean to say that, but the Jews were all merchants,
And you were the
So-
peasants.
and we were peasants.
Yeah.
And
You
yet
were-
we had our own farm.
You were telling me about how when the Germans bombed, what you did to the holes there.
Yeah, well, they bombed all over. See, that's why we had to get out, because the Germans were running away and they were burning the house, and the Russians were coming and bombing them. So the Russians were bombing the people too. So right next to our house, where our house, after it was built, I don't know exactly where the old house stood, because I forgot, but there was a great big hole. So the neighbors helped my mother. They put up however they did it, they put sod over it, and that was our root cellar. We kept our cabbage, potatoes, carrots, turnips, whatever she had. And then further on and back, because we had land all over there, they had another big hole. And it just stayed there where the bomb hit. You know, we had geese. A lot of times, and I was, 6, 7, 8, it had to go take the bunch of geese. And all the kids in the village, each house had the few geese, and they all get them together. We used to go at the end of the village, and the geese would graze there, and we had to watch them.
How did you get your land? Did the government give each family a little piece of land?
They had land from way before.
Oh, I see.
Our grandparents got the land from their parents. Now, they had land right along. Where they got them from before, I have no idea. But my parents and grandparents, they had land right along.
I see.
See, they had, and there was land near the house, and then we had a great big piece of land away from the house, maybe a couple of miles away or something, and another place we used to have it. I don't know how they got that.
Did you go to school when you were in Poland?
2 years.
2 years.
2 or 3 years I went, yeah.
But just
we couldn't-
Polish?
But it wasn't school, exactly. We had to go on the QT, because the Russians didn't want anybody to have any schooling. So they used to teach us in houses. There's different houses. We went to different houses maybe one month was in one house and then we changed over to another house.
How old were you when you came back to the United States?
9 years old.
9? And
9.
how did you get back?
Well, as I said,
With your mother?
Well, I came by myself. Well, we came out. We left our home. My mother gave the property. That was hers.
I see.
Because that possession was the 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
So the family was over here. Of course, my father was over there too, over here in America. So it was only my mother and myself and my grandfather. And we had that. She did all the work, and of course my grandfather helped what he could. Then after he died, it was just her. But her sister-in-law used to come over once in a while and help her out, my father's sister. And then my uncle's wife used to come once in a while. But when my mother came, before my aunt and my father decided he was going to come to Europe, he didn't see us for about 6 years.
Oh my.
Yeah, he was over here, my mother was over there. So he decided to come here. He had a trunk full of cotton and everything he was bringing, because they all this cloth material, so they could make clothes. He said he had a full trunk of it, and he had $1,000 in cash sewed up in his lining. Well, when he got on the boat, he wasn't sure that his trunk got on the boat. So he went into the hold and started looking through the whole chute match to see if he could find his trunk. And he got all sweated up. Then he went up and he drank cold beer, and he got sick.
Oh dear.
So he was sick all the way across. He was sick in the hospitals coming over. We didn't know he was coming. He came over, so he had pneumonia. He came sick to our place. He lasted a couple months and he died.
Oh dear.
So we don't know what happened to that trunk full of cloth. Now, if my mother was one that could read or write, she could have followed that up, but she didn't know any better. But that $1,000, why she got that. So then when my aunt come over, she talked her into going buying a farm out near the other side of Warsaw, Poznań or something like that. They call it different now. I don't know what they call it. Potsdam? No, it's not Potsdam. It's like Poznań. That's what's in Polish. I don't know what they call it now. But she said they were going to buy a big farm out there, and they're going to stay. They're not going to go back to America. They'll stay, and they'll help a farmer, and we'll make a good living. My mother decided. When they got there, I don't know what happened. That deal went through. My aunt took the money and went to America. And what went through? They must have paid the farm and still lost the money, because my aunt went to America. She says, when I'll make enough money, I'll send for you. So I don't know. My poor mother got
terrible.
stuck. Yeah, my mother got stuck.
Because those days, $1,000 would be like $1 million today.
Now, yeah. In 1920, 1919, 1920, a lot of money. But my mother got stuck. She stayed in that internment, that camp, where there were people going to America. They have to stay in there. That was in Germany. She got as far as Germany, then my aunt left.
Oh,
She
I
got her
see.
to this camp, and then she left with her husband. The two of them took off.
They let a certain amount of people go from the internment camp to America?
Yeah, if you had the money to go.
I see.
But my mother was left practically penniless. She didn't have enough money to pay for her fare to America. My aunt took all the money. Just imagine, $1,000, and she couldn't come because she didn't have the money.
And it was her money to begin with?
And it was her money to begin with. My aunt took everything.
How did you get to America?
Well, after a while, they send her the money. They send her money there. We got on the boat in Germany, in Gdańsk, whatever they call it now. And we got to take a boat across to Liverpool. And then we stayed in Liverpool, I think, 2 weeks before we got a boat. We couldn't come to America. My mother didn't have enough money, no sponsor, no nothing.
That's right, you had to have a sponsor.
Yeah, she didn't have no sponsor then or anything. So,
Your aunt wouldn't sponsor you?
but she couldn't. I guess she couldn't sponsor, or maybe she didn't want it. I don't know. She had